Recently, I was able to visit Universal Studios Florida on what was quite possibly the grayest, most cloudy day ever. But more importantly, it was a good opportunity to revisit the Springfield section of the park to see how it stands up today. If you've never been there before, consider this a guided tour and review. We'll look at the theming, the rides, the games, and the restaurants, all filmed by yours truly in glorious shaky cam. Also, hey, there's my finger covering part of the lens. See, this is why I stick to editing and not directing. Anyway, we'll begin with a walkabout of the outdoor areas of Springfield. We're first greeted by Bumblebee Man's Tacos, complete with its own custom horn. This, I'm sure, drives the employees crazy all day long. Next up, we have the famous Lard Lad Donut, who is thankfully not destroying the town today. Naturally, we have Chief Wiggum nearby, as well as the statue of notorious pirate Hans Sprungfeld. I tried to tell the Universal Studios employees about his secret history, but they wouldn't listen to me. Here comes the Duff Beer section of the park, a personal favorite of mine due to how detail-oriented its design is. For example, we have all of the 7 Duffs here, complete with nameplates. Can you remember all 7 of them? I could only come up with about 5 of them off the top of my head. Surly didn't care that I remembered him specifically. The bar area has a lot of neat promotional banners here. Love this Suds McDuff reference in particular. Next, we have an awesome Duffman statue. He has like the perfect size and pose for people to take pictures with him. Now here's an example of what I meant about the designer's attention to detail, hitting us with a reference to Duffless from Season 4. I also want to apologize for filming this video in a 16:9 aspect ratio. Clearly I didn't learn anything from the issues with Disney+. Over in this corner, Simpsons characters appear periodically to take photos with guests. I don't know why it was just Homer, Marge, and Lisa. I'm guessing Bart was too cool for this. Either way, fun little photo op right here. Next, for all you thrill seekers out there, let's talk about the rides. Springfield has 2 main attractions. First, we have Kang and Kodis's Whirl and Hurl. Or Twirl and Hurl, now that I have a better view of the sign. This is a pretty standard sort of ride you see at carnivals or at Disney World. You get into a flying saucer and go round and around, and various characters will yell at you and stuff. Obviously not the most intense ride in the world, but the theming is nice, and hey, it even has a cute little height requirement sign. The more substantial experience is the Simpsons ride, which opened all the way back in 2008. I say it's more substantial because of its more unique experience, as well as the design of its queue. It's themed after the Krusty Land amusement park, and while you wait in line, they have clips from various episodes on TV monitors to amuse you. They even have custom ones, like an appearance from Doc Brown from Back to the Future, paying homage to the attraction that they replaced. I didn't get footage of it because there were barely any people in line when we arrived. The ride contains 2 pre-shows. First, there's this waiting room, where there are various characters who will talk to you, crack jokes, stuff like that. Like here's Willie, for example.
Don't think it's one of those carny attractions you can't possibly win. I'll show you it's on the up and up. Just aim for the middle bottle, like so. Oh, I forgot! It's rigged! I rigged it myself!
These are pretty amusing overall, like not the greatest jokes in the world, but they're good enough for when you're just trying to kill some time before the ride. The only jarring thing about them is that they're like those DVD menus where once the custom animation is over, they just kind of stare at you blankly. Although Molman will drop his glasses or clean them on occasion, so that's kind of cute. Then they send you to the individual funhouse rooms, where you're assigned a car number and you watch the introductory video. This room has some cute little design concepts. I really like this cameo with Matt Groening, and this Krusty signboard feels very on brand for him. Here's where we get a video showing the plot of the Simpsons ride.
Krusty, is this a nuclear reactor? Oh!
What do you know about nuclear energy, kid? Leave that to us clowns.
Oh, Mr. Krusty, sir, the reactor is terribly dangerous with the leakages and the crackages. Observe. Oh, the growing.
There are definitely some solid jokes in here, although I really hate the subtitle box at the bottom. It ruins the pacing of some of the jokes, particularly Grandpa's. The fact that they had to subtitle loud sucking as a sound effect is very amusing though. I'm assuming they have all the subtitles automatically on for the hearing impaired guests, so they do have a very important function, all things considered. After the plot stuff, they have an awesome safety video with Itchy and Scratchy. I really like this part. They lend themselves well to describing the do's and don'ts in their trademark visual style. The ride itself is one of those IMAX motion simulator types. You get into a Krusty coaster car, it rises up, and suddenly you're in the world of Krustyland, riding a roller coaster with the Simpsons. Your car tilts upward and downward, side to side, generally jostling you around as you travel through Springfield. In reality, you're looking at a domed IMAX screen, and the car isn't actually going anywhere. If you've seen rides like these before, like maybe Epcot's Soarin' or Star Wars Smuggler's Run, you're familiar with this kind of effect. I think the Simpsons ride illusion is pretty decent given the ride's age. It starts out on a roller coaster, which works really well syncing you up with the visuals and feelings of going up and down and stuff. Sideshow Bob shows up and the ride starts going all over the place, from river rapids to helicopter rides to simply falling into deep pits. My personal favorite part is toward the end of the ride when you're being whipped around the streets of Springfield. It's honestly a giant nostalgia overload, and it's just fun speeding through these familiar locations. I wish there was more of that dynamic and less of the Krustyland sequences, to be honest. The ride definitely shows a lot of its age now in 2020. There are much more technically advanced versions of this kind of experience now. Like, we rode the Transformers ride at Universal later that same day. And while I hate the films that ride is based on, it's a much more dynamic experience when your car is actually moving around through physical space. But for what it is, I like the Simpsons ride. If you're tired of waiting 2+ hours for a Harry Potter attraction, check this one out. It's a pretty decent value for its time investment. I would guess you could practically walk onto this ride a lot of the time. Given the Krustyland theme of the Simpsons ride, Springfield has many, many carnival games to offer. For the most burly Simpsons fans, we have the Sledge Homer. I thought about playing this, but didn't want to crack the bell. They also have a whack-a-mole game with Itchy and Scratchy, and here's Mr. Burns' radioactive rings. It's a ring toss game. I was actually going to try this one, even though ring toss games like these are insanely difficult to win at. I mean, just look at this thing. But there was no attendant, so we moved on. Here's a few other ones, like this Homer at the Bat themed game. We've got a game all about throwing balls at Willie, where you can win a plush version of him. Do not touch. Also, I think those were supposed to be Jub Jub plushes back there. And then we have a balloon popping game themed around Sideshow Bob. I should have tried this one too. That Mr. Teeny prize is pretty tempting. But I thought to myself, none of these games demand enough skill for me to try. I need something that can demonstrate my prowess as a Simpsons YouTube type person. No, not the goldfish game. Ah, this is more like it. The ball toss. In this game, you get 5 balls for $6. Land one in the yellow space for the top prize, red spaces for medium, blue spaces small prize. Let's see how I do. Okay, here we go. Oh, so close. Let's go for it again.
Come on, Blue.
I'm bad at this. Really? Am I just gonna lose every single one? Okay. The first one I think was the closest one. Red? No.
Last one.
Let's do one more. Hey! I won a red!
So you can do Itchy the Mouse or Bart Simpson, whichever
I
you
will
prefer.
do Itchy the Mouse.
Itchy the Mouse.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
Job.
Afterwards, I thought Itchy might be lonely all by himself, so I got him a new best friend from the other side of the Disney Corporation. I'm sure they will be good influences on each other. Next, let's look at some of the shops Springfield has to offer. The Quickie Mart serves as the main merchandise and souvenir shop. Here's where you're going to find the t-shirts, Duff beer merchandise, magnets, even these horrifying slippers. If you've ever wanted to put your entire foot into Homer's mouth, these are for you. Also, it's full of these demonic-looking dolls that will haunt my nightmares forever. For food and beverage options, we have Krusty Burger, Moe's Bar, Cletus's Chicken Shack, among others. First, let's check out the Krusty Burger. It features a very cool Simpsons mural on its wall, and the classic Krusty Burger design and color schemes. I love the orange trim on the walls, the gray floor tiles, the red booths and orange tables throughout. Obviously, a lot of this is typical fast food stuff that was parodied on the show, but it really does feel like you're in a Krusty Burger. All the restaurants are connected together as a big food court, which does ruin the illusion a bit. But you know, doing it this way allows them to fit in more Springfield restaurants, like Luigi's and the Frying Dutchman. It would have been cool to see an entire standalone Frying Dutchman that you could visit, but in terms of space, budget, and efficiency for guests, doing a food court makes a lot of sense. The coolest part of this section, though, is Moe's Tavern. This part is great. It's a bit more closed off from the rest of the food court, so you can sort of stroll around the bar area, look at the booths and the pool table. I wanted to play a game of pool, but Moe is phasing out the games. I did, however, try my hand at the love tester. Okay.
What's the matter, Mo?
Business is slow. People today are healthier and drinking less. You know, if it wasn't for the junior high school next door, no one would even use the cigarette.
What am I getting? Lukewarm. Clearly, this machine is broken. So I decided to forget my troubles with a flaming Moe. Universal's version of the drink isn't lit on fire, nor does it contain alcohol. But either way, this is a cool looking drink. It even looks cool in slow motion. I was surprised that the drink tasted like orange. I was expecting a cherry sort of flavor like cough syrup would be. It's a pretty expensive drink, all things considered. Like this one cost me a whopping $9.50. But on the plus side, after you're done, you get to take this souvenir cup home with you. You can see here how the cup is separated into two parts, with the bottom part presumably where they sneak in the dry ice. As a comparison, we took a trip to another timeline, where I tried my first cup of butterbeer. Butterbeer is considerably cheaper at around $8, and you get more to drink. But you don't get the nifty souvenir cup, so there's kind of a trade-off. Butterbeer is also very, very butterscotchy. I really liked it, but man is it butterscotchy. We decided to merge the two timelines together by pouring butterbeer into the slushy remains of the flaming Moe. I am dubbing it a Butter Moe. It's actually not that bad. It tastes a lot like an orange creamsicle. Overall, the Springfield section of Universal Studios is very fun to visit, but it's not like the most substantial experience in the world. After you've ridden the two rides, the rest of the experience is just looking at the theming, posing with characters, and spending money on games and food. Especially with the games, it feels like Universal is providing more of a Six Flags experience than a Disney one. I wish we had a slightly more immersive Springfield experience where you walk down the street and it feels like you're there. Instead, it feels more like a string of referential set pieces. To be fair, a lot of these references are awesome and are surprisingly deep. They just don't make you feel like you're in their world. I think that's why Moe's Tavern is my favorite location. It's closed off just enough to create that effect of, wow, here I am. I'm drinking a flaming Moe at Moe's Tavern. And I don't even have to talk to Moe either. It's like a win-win. I don't mean to sound tepid or super down about this section of the park, because I still had a lot of fun visiting Springfield. For fans of The Simpsons, it's a cool experience. I mean, I definitely still enjoy the Simpsons ride, even after my 4th or 5th time going on it. It's just that the Springfield section of Universal Studios is a bit long in the tooth these days. That's all. I think having Diagon Alley on the other side of the lake can make it feel relatively underwhelming in its design, makes it feel like more of a budget experience. I want to see the timeline where they go all out on the Simpsons theming, and then the Harry Potter section is full of sorting hat ring toss games. Let me know what you think of The Simpsons at Universal Studios and what your favorite parts of it are. I had a lot of fun putting together this little vacation video for the channel. It would be fun to go on the road and check out other Simpsons oddities someday in the future. Whatever those would be, maybe the Sun Sphere. For now though, I'm back working on the next Simpsons review or analysis. I hope everyone had a nice New Year's and holiday season. Onward to 2020.